When you love yourself enough, something extraordinary begins to happen. It's almost invisible at first, almost subtle, like the way the sun slowly rises and warms the world. But it's powerful. You start to change not because you're forcing yourself to, but because you finally see yourself clearly. And when that happens, the energy around you shifts. You stop grasping at people, stop trying to convince someone to see your worth, stop shrinking yourself just to fit into the spaces others offer you. Instead, you become the space. You become the light. You become the calm center that others are drawn to. Love is not a chase, it's a reflection. And what you reflect when you truly love yourself is something magnetic. You see, people feel your energy long before they understand your words. It's in the way you stand, the way you look at the world, the way you move without begging for validation. When you love yourself, you're no longer trying to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. And that quiet confidence, that unshakable sense of inner worth, attracts the kind of people who recognize your value without you needing to explain it. The right person doesn't just appear out of nowhere. They are drawn to that vibration you carry, that calm certainty that says, I am enough. Many people spend their lives trying to find love, chasing after someone who will give them the feeling they should have been giving themselves all along. They believe that if they just find the right person, everything will finally feel complete. But this is an illusion. No one can give you the love you refuse to give yourself. No one can make you feel whole if inside you're still carrying the belief that you're not worthy. When you lack self-love, you unconsciously attract people who reflect that lack back to you. They mirror your insecurities, your fears, your emptiness. But when you stand in self-love, something entirely different happens. The mirror changes. What comes back to you are people who respect your boundaries, honor your heart, and see your light. When you love yourself, your standards rise naturally, not out of pride or arrogance, but out of deep respect for who you are. You no longer settle for half-hearted attention or inconsistent affection. You stop begging for crumbs when you know you deserve the whole table. You stop waiting for someone to validate your existence because you've already validated it yourself. And that is when the right person appears, not as someone who completes you, but as someone who meets you where you already are. They don't bring you your worth. They simply recognize it because you've been living it. This is not about pretending to be strong or acting like you don't need anyone. It's not about building walls around your heart. It's about realizing that your love for yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. When you know what you deserve, when you hold yourself with kindness, when you walk with quiet self-respect, you attract those who resonate with that same frequency. Love stops being a transaction and starts becoming an alignment. The right person is not attracted to a mask. They're drawn to the real, whole, grounded version of you. Think about it. When you feel insecure, desperate, or unworthy, the energy you give off is one of seeking, grasping, needing. But when you love yourself, your energy says, I am already whole. That is the kind of energy that doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't beg, it allows. It doesn't cling, it trusts. And people feel that. The right person will not come to you because you're flawless or perfect. They will come to you because your self-love is real. And real love always recognizes real love. The truth is, love is not about finding someone to complete you. It's about becoming so complete within yourself that you only attract someone who matches that completeness. The world mirrors your relationship with yourself. If you believe you are not enough, you will meet people who confirm that belief. If you believe you are worthy, you will meet people who reflect that worth. It's not luck, it's alignment. When you start to truly love yourself, you begin to radiate a quiet power. It's not loud or boastful. It's calm. It's steady. It's the kind of presence that doesn't need to demand love, because it already embodies it. And the right person doesn't pass that kind of presence by. They are drawn to it, pulled toward it not by force, but by the natural gravity of your self-respect. The beautiful thing about self-love is that it doesn't just bring the right person closer, it also keeps the wrong ones away. When you value yourself, your energy becomes a gatekeeper. It gently but firmly turns away anyone who doesn't align with the love you hold within. And that's not a loss. It's a blessing. Because you are no longer desperate to be chosen, you become selective. Not because you are picky, but because you are aligned. At the end of the day, love is not about finding someone who saves you from yourself. It's about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to be saved. When you love yourself enough, you stop chasing shadows and start attracting light. The right person doesn't complete your story, they join it. And they'll find you not when you're searching for them, but when you've found yourself. The energy you carry within you is far more powerful than you may realize. Long before you say a word, before anyone truly gets to know you, they can feel it. It's in your posture, your presence, the way you walk into a room, the way your eyes meet the world. You can't fake it, and you can't hide it. The energy you give out tells the world how you see yourself, how you value yourself, and what you believe you deserve. And it is this energy that determines who enters your life and who quietly fades away. Love is not just about finding someone, it's about aligning with someone who resonates with the frequency you carry. When your energy is grounded in self-love, you begin to attract people who are drawn not to your surface, but to the calm, steady force you embody. There's something magnetic about a person who doesn't need to beg for attention, who isn't trying to prove their worth, who simply exists in their own truth. That kind of energy speaks louder than any words ever could. It says, "I am whole." And when people feel that, they respond differently. The right ones lean in, while the wrong ones quietly lose their grip. Many people misunderstand love as something external, as if it's a matter of finding the perfect person out there. But in truth, love is often a mirror of what's happening inside. If your energy is filled with fear, doubt, or desperation, you will attract those who mirror those same feelings back to you. You might find yourself in relationships that feel unstable, uncertain, or unkind. Not because the world is cruel, but because your energy is unconsciously asking for what matches it. But the moment you shift that energy inward, the moment you begin to build it on the foundation of self-worth and self-respect, everything around you starts to change. It's not magic, it's alignment. Think about this when you walk with confidence. Not arrogance, but quiet assurance. People treat you differently. When you respect your time, others begin to respect it too. When you value your heart, the people who come close to it either step up to meet that standard or they disappear. That's the power of energy. You don't need to push. You don't need to chase. You simply need to stand in the truth of who you are, and the world will respond accordingly. This is why self-love isn't just a nice idea, it's essential. Because without it, your energy can be scattered, unstable, and searching. And searching energy often attracts people who feed off uncertainty. But when your energy is calm-centered and full of love for yourself, it creates a kind of invisible boundary, a quiet gatekeeper. It doesn't build walls, but it sets a tone. It tells people, this is how I treat myself. And if you want to be here, you must honor that too. You're no longer begging for love. You're creating a space where love can exist in its purest form. There is something deeply attractive about someone who is not trying to be loved, but is already living in love. With themselves, with life, with their own journey. That kind of energy draws in people who want to grow with you, not use you. It brings those who respect your soul, not just your surface. It filters out those who only want to take and makes room for those who are ready to give. Love isn't about forcing someone to see your worth. It's about living in a way that makes it impossible for the right person to overlook it. And this is why chasing people or love never works the way we hope it will. When you chase, your energy says, I'm not enough without you. But when you stand in your own light, your energy says, I'm enough. And I only welcome those who see that. People are naturally drawn to strength, not the loud kind that tries to dominate, but the quiet kind that doesn't need to. It's the kind that stands like a mountain, still, grounded, and unshakable. The right person will not want to change that. They'll want to be part of it. You see, love is not about convincing someone to stay. Real love is drawn in by energy that doesn't demand but simply exists as truth. It doesn't plead to be chosen. It already knows it's worthy of being chosen. And that is why energy matters so much more than words, appearances, or clever lines. People may forget what you say, but they will never forget how it felt to be around you. They remember how your energy made them feel, safe, alive, inspired, or restless. So when your energy radiates self-love, it sends a silent message: I don't need to be rescued. I don't need to be completed. I am already whole. And from that place, the right person comes not out of pity or need, but out of resonance. They feel your calm, your strength, your clarity, and they match it. It's not forced. It's not desperate. It's natural. And the wrong ones, the ones who thrive on chaos, control, or insecurity, will find no place to root themselves, because your energy won't give them the space to. That is the beauty of alignment. You no longer have to fight to keep people in your life who don't belong there. Your energy does the work for you. The most powerful relationships are not built on words or appearances. They're built on energy that recognizes itself in another. When your energy is rooted in self-love, you don't have to shout for love to find you. Love will feel you. It will be drawn to you like rivers are drawn to the sea. It won't be because you chased it, but because you became it. And that is when the right person will enter your life, not to give you your worth, but because they see it reflected in you. When you truly love yourself, something quiet but incredibly powerful happens inside you. You stop settling for less than you deserve. It's not an act of pride. It's not a performance for others to see. It's a calm knowing, a silent recognition of your worth that no longer allows you to cling to what diminishes you. Many people go through life holding on to people, situations, or love that barely meets their needs because they fear being alone, or because they've convinced themselves that something is better than nothing. But when you love yourself deeply, that fear begins to dissolve. You no longer accept crumbs when you know you deserve the feast. You no longer chase someone to stay when your soul already knows they don't belong. There's a kind of strength that comes from within when you know your value. It doesn't need to prove. It doesn't need to shout. It simply walks away from anything that doesn't align with its truth. The reason so many end up feeling trapped in unhealthy or unfulfilling connections isn't because they can't find better. It's because they haven't yet realized they deserve better. They haven't yet anchored themselves in the kind of self-love that makes settling impossible. But when that love takes root inside you, everything changes. You begin to understand that love isn't supposed to drain you. It isn't supposed to make you question your worth. It isn't supposed to keep you waiting in confusion, begging to be seen. Real love meets you where you are, not where you have to shrink to fit in. When self-love becomes your foundation, your standards stop being negotiable. And that doesn't mean you become rigid or cold. It simply means you become honest with yourself. You recognize when something isn't nourishing your soul. You recognize when love feels forced instead of flowing. And you stop making excuses for things that hurt you in the name of keeping someone near. This is what self-love does. It clears away the illusions that keep you stuck. It teaches you that walking away isn't losing, it's choosing. Choosing yourself over the idea of love that costs your peace. So many people believe that love requires endless compromise, endless bending just to keep it alive. But that kind of love isn't love, it's fear disguised as devotion. When you love yourself, compromise stops being self-erasure. It becomes mutual respect. It becomes balanced. You no longer accept one-sided effort, inconsistent affection, or empty promises because your soul knows it's worth more than that. Stop tolerating love that's built on your silence, your waiting, your diminishing. You no longer settle because you've finally learned that settling is a quiet betrayal of your own heart. And it's not just romantic relationships where this shows. It echoes in friendships, family ties, and even the way you allow the world to treat you. Self-love is like a silent contract you make with yourself. I will no longer accept less than I deserve. Not because you're entitled, but because you've finally remembered who you are. You stop forcing connections. Stop clinging to people who can't meet you. Stop chasing after love that keeps slipping away. Instead, you create space for better, for deeper, for true. People often fear that raising their standards will leave them alone. But the truth is, lowering your standards is what keeps you lonely in a crowded room. When you settle for less, you're surrounded by people who never really see you. But when you honor your worth, yes, some will leave, but they were never meant to stay. And those who remain, those who arrive after, are the ones who can meet you where your soul actually lives. The right person will never be pushed away by your standards. They will be revealed by them. There's something liberating about realizing that you no longer have to fight to keep something in your life that doesn't feel right. You no longer have to chase someone to love you, to understand you, to choose you. Self-love frees you from that endless struggle. It teaches you that the right kind of love doesn't require you to become smaller. It allows you to grow, to breathe, to be. And when you know this deeply, truly, you'll stop begging for love and start attracting the kind of love that's meant for you. Settling is often born from a belief that we are not enough. But when that belief fades, when it's replaced with a quiet certainty of self-worth, everything begins to shift. You realize that love should never be something you have to earn by diminishing yourself. Love that asks you to abandon your needs is not love at all. Love that requires you to constantly prove your worth is not love either. Real love flows from mutual recognition. And that recognition begins with how you treat yourself. And it's not always easy. Sometimes self-love means walking away from someone you deeply care for. Sometimes it means sitting with the silence that follows, trusting that this emptiness is not the end, but the beginning of something better. Sometimes it means letting go of almost love to make room for the real thing. It takes courage to not settle. It takes faith to believe that something greater is waiting. But that faith is built on the foundation of self-love, on the deep inner knowing that you are worthy of more than halfway love. In the end, when you stop settling, you stop betraying yourself. You make space for the love that doesn't ask you to sacrifice your peace. You create a life where love is not begged for, but shared freely between two whole souls. And that kind of love only finds you when you finally decide to choose yourself first. When you do not love yourself, love becomes something you cling to. It becomes a lifeline, a way to escape the emptiness inside. You hold on to people not because they are right for you, but because you fear what will happen if they leave. You confuse attachment with connection, comfort with love, dependency with devotion. And in that space of fear, your heart begins to ache not because love is missing, but because you've built your sense of self around something fragile and external. When that person pulls away, your entire foundation trembles. But when you truly love yourself, that foundation shifts. You no longer cling. You heal. You breathe. You let go not because it doesn't hurt, but because you finally understand that love is not supposed to be a cage. The difference between healing and clinging is subtle but profound. Clinging comes from fear. Healing comes from strength. When you cling, you say, I need you to make me feel whole. When you heal, you say, I am whole, even without you. This isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about recognizing that love should not be the bandage over an old wound. It should not be the escape route from your own insecurities. Real love flows from two complete beings, not two broken halves trying to hold each other up. Many people confuse intensity with love. They mistake their fear of losing someone for proof that the connection is real. But intensity born from fear is not love. It's desperation. It's the mind trying to hold on to what it thinks will save it. Healing, on the other hand, is quiet. It's steady. It doesn't need to beg to be seen. It doesn't demand someone to stay in order to feel safe. When you love yourself, love no longer becomes something you need to survive. It becomes something you share because you already thrive. Think about the way many of us enter relationships. We look for someone to fix us, to give us what we cannot give ourselves. We ask them, silently or loudly, to make us feel secure, valuable, complete. But no one can do that for us, at least not in a way that lasts, because people can leave. Situations change. And when your sense of worth is tied to someone else, you live in a constant state of quiet fear. But when your worth is rooted in yourself, you no longer grip so tightly. You love fully, but not fearfully. You can let go when something isn't right, not because it's easy, but because you trust that you'll be okay. Healing is not about becoming untouchable. It's about becoming steady. It's the difference between holding someone's hand because you want to, and holding it because you're afraid to fall without it. When you love yourself, you stop putting the weight of your healing on someone else's shoulders. You carry it yourself, not as a burden, but as strength. You understand that someone can walk with you, support you, love you, but they cannot be your entire world. And in that understanding, your love becomes lighter. It becomes more honest. Clinging happens when you're afraid of the silence. Healing happens when you're no longer afraid to face yourself in that silence. When you've made peace with who you are, you stop fearing the space someone might leave behind, because you know that space will not destroy you. It will shape you. It will remind you of your own power. You no longer attach your sense of worth to someone's presence or absence. You learn to love without losing yourself in the process. So many chase love trying to fill a hole inside them, but love cannot fill that void, not truly. Only you can. When you love yourself, you don't expect someone else to fix your pain. You face it. You sit with it. You allow it to heal. And from that healing, you build connections that are based on mutual respect, not silent desperation. You no longer build relationships out of fear of being alone, but out of the joy of growing together. You no longer cling to people just because you're afraid of what life looks like without them. The truth is, love built on fear is fragile. It breaks easily, it suffocates, it exhausts both people. Love built on healing, on self-respect, on wholeness is steady. It breathes. It allows both souls to grow. And when you truly love yourself, your love for someone else is no longer a demand to save you. It becomes a gift you offer freely. When you heal instead of cling, you give love the space to be real. You stop forcing it to stay. You stop begging it to fill your emptiness. You allow it to flow naturally, and you trust that if it's right, it will grow. If it's not, it will go. But either way, you will remain. You will still be whole. And that is the quiet power of self-love. It frees you from turning love into a desperate grasp. It lets love be love. The moment you start to truly see yourself, the world begins to see you differently. It's not because something magical happens outside of you, but because the energy you carry transforms. For so long, many walk through life hoping to be noticed, hoping someone will finally see their worth, hoping love will arrive to validate their existence. But love doesn't work that way. The right person doesn't see you when you're hiding from yourself. They see you when you finally step into your own light. They feel the shift when you no longer seek their gaze to feel whole, but when you become radiant simply because you know who you are. When you spend your life doubting your worth, you send out a quiet message, even without saying a word. It's written in the way you carry yourself, the way you accept less than you deserve, the way you hesitate to claim your place in the world. And people, often unconsciously, respond to that energy. Some will overlook you, some will take advantage of it, and some will treat you like the reflection you've given them. But the moment you change that reflection, everything shifts. When you begin to see your own value, you no longer ask the world for permission to shine. You simply shine. Seeing yourself is not about arrogance. It's not about declaring that you're better than anyone else. It's about understanding that your worth has always been there, unmoved, unshaken, waiting for you to recognize it. So many spend years searching for someone to love them the way they've never learned to love themselves. But love cannot truly recognize you until you recognize yourself. The right person won't arrive to complete you. They'll arrive when you've already seen your own reflection clearly and accepted it fully. When you truly see yourself, you begin to carry yourself differently. Your words soften but become stronger. Your presence grows quieter but more powerful. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth because you've stopped questioning it. You stop begging for attention. You stop shrinking in rooms where you once felt too small. You stop tolerating the kind of love that makes you forget who you are. And this quiet, steady confidence becomes a beacon. It's not loud, but it is unmistakable. People feel it. The right person will not pass it by. It's a strange and beautiful truth that love often finds you not when you are searching, but when you are standing still, rooted in yourself. When you stop chasing and start being. When you stop trying to shape yourself into what someone else might want and start embracing the person you already are. The right person doesn't see the mask you used to wear. They see the real you, the one you tried to hide, the one you thought wasn't enough. And they are drawn to it not because it's flawless, but because it's honest. When you see yourself clearly, you stop accepting love that's half-hearted. You stop trying to convince someone to love you. You stop handing over your peace in exchange for temporary attention. You understand that your value isn't measured by how much someone else loves you, but by how deeply you love and respect yourself. And in that clarity, the wrong ones slowly drift away. Not because you've pushed them out, but because your energy no longer makes space for what isn't aligned with your worth. And what remains, what comes, is what was meant to. There is something deeply magnetic about someone who knows who they are. Not someone pretending to be confident, not someone performing strength, but someone who has finally come home to themselves. They are grounded. They are unshaken by silence. They are no longer desperate to be chosen. They know they are already enough. That kind of energy doesn't beg for love, it attracts it. It doesn't demand attention, it naturally receives it. The right person is not attracted to the noise of insecurity, but to the calm of someone who has found themselves. Seeing yourself means letting go of the story that says you're unworthy unless someone chooses you. It means rewriting that story from within. It means understanding that your worth is not something another person gives you like a gift. It's something you carry. It's something you've always carried. And when you truly believe that, not just in your mind but in your soul, the people who once overlooked you will no longer have a place in your world. Because the right person doesn't have to be convinced of your worth. They will recognize what you already know. The truth is, love doesn't save you from yourself. It meets you where you are. And when you've finally seen your own reflection clearly, when you've embraced your imperfections and your light, when you've stopped apologizing for existing, the right person will see that too. They won't try to fix you, because they'll see you're already whole. They won't try to complete you, because they'll know you've already completed yourself. Love will not arrive to fill a void. It will arrive to meet the fullness of who you are. So if you want to attract the right person, stop waiting for someone to see you. See yourself first. Stop hiding behind fear, behind doubt, behind the need to be chosen. Stand in your truth. Own your worth. Love yourself so deeply that your presence speaks for you before you even open your mouth. The right person will feel it. They will see you. Not because you begged to be seen, but because you finally saw yourself. And when that happens, love stops being something you chase and becomes something that naturally finds its way to you. You said, expand key point 6 into an 800-word segment, flowing naturally within the speech and maintaining alignment with the overall key points. Avoid any headings, and ensure the tone is seamless and conversational. Conclude with only the necessary closing line for impact, and don't mention by Alan Watts' name and write it like by Alan Watts is giving speech in key point. ChatGPT said, "True love doesn't begin when someone enters your life. It begins long before that moment, quietly, within you. The love you attract is often a reflection of the love you hold for yourself. Many people spend years searching for someone to give them the feeling they've never been able to give themselves, hoping that love will heal their wounds, erase their insecurities, and make them feel whole. But love is not a cure for the emptiness inside. It's a mirror, and what it reflects depends on what you already carry. If you enter love from a place of need, you will find yourself dependent. But if you enter it from a place of fullness, it will meet you in harmony. When you love yourself enough, something fundamental shifts. You no longer seek love as a lifeline, but as a beautiful addition to a life that already feels meaningful. You stop expecting someone else to bring you joy, because joy is already something you've learned to build from within. You no longer hand over the responsibility of your happiness to another human being, because you've finally realized it's yours to create. And when you stand in that truth, love comes not as a desperate chase, but as a natural flow. The right person is drawn not to your need, but to your strength. Most people don't realize how much power they give away when they make someone else the source of their happiness. They cling, they fear, they adjust their entire identity just to keep that person close. But love born out of dependency is fragile. It trembles at the slightest shift. When your happiness depends entirely on someone else, you lose yourself trying to keep them near. You compromise your boundaries, silence your needs, shrink your voice. But love born from self-love is different. It doesn't cling. It doesn't demand. It doesn't fear the silence. It stands tall. It allows love to exist freely without needing to control it. When you learn to love yourself, you build a foundation that cannot be shaken by someone's absence. You become the source of your own light. So when love comes, it doesn't complete you, it joins you. And when it goes, it doesn't destroy you. It leaves you whole. This kind of love is powerful, not because it binds, but because it liberates. It creates space for two people to meet as equals, not as two incomplete pieces desperately trying to make each other whole. Love that lasts isn't built on needing someone. It's built on choosing someone. And choice only becomes real when you are already whole on your own. When you love yourself, you're no longer blinded by the illusion of needing to be saved. You stop confusing intensity with connection. You stop mistaking attachment for love. Instead, you see love clearly for what it is: a space to grow, not a place to hide. The right person will not rescue you from yourself. They will meet you where you stand, because you're already standing strong. Many people believe that to be loved, they must earn it. They must prove their worth, be perfect, always please. But that belief comes from forgetting your own value. When you love yourself, love is no longer a performance. You stop trying to be lovable and start simply being. You accept your imperfections without shame. You embrace your strengths without arrogance. And this authenticity is what love responds to most deeply. The right person isn't looking for perfection. They're looking for presence, for someone who is real, whole, and alive in their own skin. When you become the source of your own love, you stop settling for almost love. You stop accepting relationships built on fear, silence, or constant compromise. You stop needing someone to choose you in order to feel worthy. Your worth no longer hangs on their affection. You are no longer waiting to be loved. You are love. And from that place, the love you attract is different. It's calmer, deeper, and more real. Because it's not born from lack. It's born from abundance. The most beautiful kind of love happens when two people who are already whole come together, not because they need to fill each other's gaps, but because they choose to share their light. Their love isn't heavy with expectations, it's light with freedom. It grows, not because it's forced, but because it's nurtured. And the foundation of that kind of love is self-love. You can't give what you don't have. You can't receive what you don't believe you deserve. When you carry love within you, love outside of you flows naturally. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about facing your own fears, your insecurities, your shadows, and loving yourself through them. It's about building a relationship with yourself so steady that no one else's presence or absence can take it away. That's where true love begins. In the silence, in the mirror, in the moments when you choose to see your own worth before anyone else does. When you stand in self-love, you stop chasing what isn't meant for you. You stop trying to force love into places it doesn't belong. You trust. You allow. You become the kind of person who doesn't just hope to be loved, but lives in love every single day. And that energy is magnetic. The right person won't just see it. They'll feel it. They'll be drawn to it, not because they need to complete it, but because they want to grow with it. The love that begins within you is the love that lasts. It is the kind of love that doesn't fade when someone leaves. It doesn't vanish in the dark. It stays. It grows. It carries you. Because the real love story was never about finding someone else to give it to you. It was always about discovering it within yourself first. And once you do, the right person will come not to give you your worth, but to meet you in it.